Graph the linear equation, x plus y equals 7. We are not given any table for this problem. We have to come up with the numbers on our own. So if I want to, I can build my xy table, and I can choose random numbers out of a hat. I can roll some dice and choose whatever number shows up on that die. Or I can choose numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go with 0, 1, and 2. They're the easiest numbers to work with most of the time. So x plus y is 7. So I have 0 plus y equals 7, giving me y equals 7. Next one, x plus y equals 7. Replace the x with a 1. So 1 plus y is 7. Subtract the 1 over. Solve for y. Y is now alone. 7 minus 1 is 6. And the last one down here, x plus y equals 7 again, but this time I'm using 2 for x. So 2 plus y is 7. Solve for y. Subtract the 2. Y is now alone. 7 minus 2 is 5. I now have 3 points so I can graph my line. I need only 2 points, but that third point is a really nice thing to have so that I can make sure that I have a straight line and not something in the wrong spot. So 0, 7. I didn't draw my graph big enough. My x's are okay, but my y's goes up to 7. I need to take my graph up higher. If you don't have the option to take your graph up higher, you just need to keep finding more numbers so that the numbers you have will fit on the graph. Fortunately, I have that option. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 0 in my x direction, so don't go left or right any at all. 7 in the y direction, go up 7 spaces. Right there. 1, 6. Positive 1 in the x direction. Positive 6 in the y direction. So positive 1 in the x, positive 6 in the y, put my dot. 2, 5, so x is 2, positive, so I go over 2 spaces. Y is 5, I go up 5 spaces. Notice I did not put my dot yet. Go up 5 spaces. Now I put my dot down. Now I draw my line, and there I am. That problem is finished. Graph the linear equations. This is a linear equation, but it's only in one variable. I do not have an x in this problem at all. So therefore, this is a one variable linear equation. Down here for this one, x equals -1. There's no y in there. So therefore, we have a one variable linear equation. So graphing the y equals 5. If I build a table of values for that, x and y, and I say that x is equal to 0, what is y going to be? Y is 5. If I say that x is equal to 2, what is y going to be? Y equals 5. If I say that x is equal to negative 2, what does y equal? Y equals negative 5, or y equals 5. So if I take these over to my graph, 0, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a dot there for that first one. 2, 5, go 2 in my x direction, go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a dot for that second one there. Negative 2, 5, so that's negative 2 in my x direction, go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put my dot in, draw my line, and put the arrows on the edges of the lines so that I know that I could have chosen bigger or smaller numbers. So y equals 5 is a horizontal line. X equals negative 1. So I'm building my x and y table. It's telling me here that x is negative 1, so I'm going to use that negative 1 there. What do I fill in for y? Does it matter what y is? It does not matter. I could say that y is equal to 0. Just like I did up here with the x's. I can say y equals 0 and x is negative 1. I can say that y equals 2, x has to equal negative 1. And I can go on with that just like I did up there. If y is negative 2, x is negative 1. So now graphing the points, negative 1, 0. So negative 1 in the x direction and 0 in the y direction puts that first dot right here. Negative 1, 2. Negative 1 in the x direction and go up 2 in the y direction. So 1, 2. Put my dot in. Negative 1, negative 2. So negative 1 in the x direction and down 2, because it's negative, in the y direction, and put my dot. Connect the dots. Throw the arrows on to say I could keep going. Remember, I am not an artist, I am a math teacher. I should have my line connected to the dots. Vertical line for x equals a number. So my dots are at the negative 1 for x. And it doesn't matter where on the y values I put my dots as long as the x value is negative 1. One more thing about these two before I finish. Where they meet at right angles to each other. They are perpendicular to each other. That is something that's going to come up at you later on in this chapter. In this equation, you're being told to graph the linear equation, but you're not given any table of values. So you have to make up your own table of values out of your head. So I'm going to create mine. X and Y, those are my two letters that I have. And I'm going to choose 0 for X for the first value, and I'm going to choose 0 for Y for the second value. I may or may not need a third point. We'll get there when we get there. So plugging my numbers in, I have my equation, x minus y is negative 2. Plug in 0 for x. 0 minus y is negative 2. giving me negative y is negative 2. I have to get rid of that negative sign, so I'm dividing by negative 1. Divide by negative 1 gives me y is positive 2. And I'm allowed to divide by the negative 1 there because I'm allowed to multiply by 1, and it doesn't change what I have there. So now I take this y equals negative 2, I take this y equals 2, and I put the 2 in my table. Need to find a second point, so I'm using y equals 0 this time. Still have my same equation, x minus y is negative 2. So I have x minus, this time I'm using 0 for y, equals negative 2. X minus 0 is just x, equals negative 2. I have my second point. Now I can take these 2 points over to a graphing space. I'm counting by ones, and I'm trying to keep the space between the lines equal. I have my x's, I have my y's. I need to plot my points 0, 2. So that's x is 0, y is 2. So x is 0, I don't go left or right any. Y is positive 2. I go up 2 spaces and I put my dot. Let's make that so you can see it. I need to put my second point in there, negative 2, 0. So that's saying x is negative 2 and y is 0. So on my x values, I go from here at 0, 1, 2 spaces backwards. And on my y values, I go up and down, nothing. So it stays right there on that line. Put my dot in. Draw the line to connect the dots and take it a little further out. I could have used bigger numbers for x. I could have used smaller numbers for x. So I need to have my arrows to tell me that I could have gone further. This problem is now done. Graph the linear equation. X minus 2y equals 6. So sometimes with these equations, when you're trying to build your table of values, you have your x's and your y's. Sometimes it's going to be easier to choose values for one letter rather than the other letter. This is one of those cases. So in this example here, I look at my x and I look at my coefficient of my x. There is no coefficient there. So it's understood to be 1. And furthermore, it's a positive 1. Looking at my y, looking at the negative 2y, my coefficient is negative 2. So with this example, it's going to be easier to choose values for y than it is for x. The reason, there's no coefficient there, there's just the understood 1. So therefore, I don't have to worry about dividing or anything like that once I get my number plugged in. So I'm going to plug in numbers for y, 0, 1, and 2. And I'm going to solve for x. So plugging in 0 for y, x minus 2y is 6. So x minus 2 times 0 equals 6. 2 times 0 is 0, so I have x minus 0 is 6. which tells me just plain old x is 6. Take that number, fill it in over here. Doing my second point. Here I chose 1. Why 1? Why not 1? You get to choose any number you want. So 1 is an easy number to multiply by, and it's an easy number to add. That's why I chose 1. So I have x minus 2 times y, I'm going to use the 1 there, equals 6. So x minus the 2 times 1 is 2. Carry down my equals 6. Solving for x, I have the minus sign there, subtracting the 2 away. To get rid of that 2, I need to add it. Now I have x is 8. Take my 8, put it in the x column with the 1 that I had for the y. And I wanted a third point just because, and I chose 2 because why not? It's another easy number to multiply by. So I have my equation, x minus 2y equals 6. I'm going to take this y out of here, and I'm going to replace it with the 2. So I have x minus 2 times 2 is 4. Carry down my equal sign, carry down my 6. Solving for x, I'm subtracting the 4, so to get it to the other side, I add 4. What I do on one side of the equal sign, I do the same thing on the other. So the minus 4 plus 4 cancels out. I have x equals 6 plus 4. I get 10. Take my 10, plug it in over here. These numbers are all pretty big. I can deal with that. It's okay. I need my graphing space. I'm going to count my numbers out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going out 10 spaces. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 spaces in each direction. Okay, so this is positive 10 to negative 10. Positive 10 to negative 10. Graphing my numbers, 6, 0. So that's 6 on my x and 0 on my y. So I count out 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I go up and down 0, so that puts my dot right there. Second point, 8, 1. So x is 8, y is 1. So on my x's, I count to positive 8. That was 6, so 7, 8. On my y's, I count up 1 space. So my dot is going right there. Next spot, x is 10, y is 2. So I'm counting out to 10. So that was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm counting up 2 spaces. So 1, 2. So I put my dot right there, because that is up 2 spaces. Finish up the graph, draw my line, put my arrows on it, and it's done. The equation we're given is y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Anytime that you have an equation that's solved for one of your variables, you want to choose numbers for the other letter. So I want to make x equal something, and I want to solve for y. Why do I want to do that? Because I don't have to do any moving things across the equal sign. It's all already set up for me. I can just type that in my calculator if I want to. As far as this, I have this fraction here. Anytime you have a fraction, you want to use the denominator. For your x value. If your letter were a t or a y, you would use it for that letter. So I'm going to write down variable. So that's giving me one of the numbers. Another number you want to use is the opposite, the negative of that denominator. So my other number I'm going to use is -2. And I'm going to include just one more number. And that's one that's usually a good idea to use for any equation that you're trying to solve. 0. So I've chosen my numbers, and I've told you why I'm choosing those numbers. Now I need to actually work the problem out. Y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Let me make a little space here. Y is 1/2 x plus 2. So I'm replacing the x with 2. Y is 1/2 times 2 plus 2. So the reason why I'm using the denominator, if I'm doing this in my head, I can then put that 2 over 1. 2 cancels 2. And I have 1 times 1 is 1, over 1 times 1 is 1, giving me 1. And then I carry down my plus 2. Carry down my equals y. Finish that up. I get 3. Doing it again, this time with -2. Y equals 1/2 times -2 plus 2. So on my calculator I can type 1ABC2 times -2 equals. Doing it in my head, I put that -2 over 1. I see the 2 and the 2 cancel. I hold on to that negative sign. I have 1 times 1 over 1 times 1 with the negative sign there, giving me -1. And then I still need to carry down my plus 2. Still need to carry down my equals y. -1 plus 2. Use your calculator if you need to, if you're not sure of it. I owe $1. I have $2 in my pocket. I pay the person back that $1 that I owe. And I find that I have $1 left. So y equals 1. And then the third one, I have x equals 0. So I have my equation. Y is 1/2 times x, putting 0 in here now, plus 2. Anything times 0, you guys know this one, anything times 0 is 0. Carry down my plus 2, carry down my y equals, and you can see here 0 plus 2 is 2. Take this over to my graphing space. Counting by ones. I tried to make everything about the same space apart. All those little lines are the same space apart. And I'm counting by ones. So that's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So here I want to graph the point 2, 3. X equals 2, y equals 3. So on my x, I go over to 2. On my y, I go up 3. 1, 2, 3. And I put my dot right there. So that's over 2. So there's 0, 1, 2. Go up 3. 1, 2, 3. And I put my dot there. Second point. -2, 1. So x is -2. So I count backwards from 0 to places. So -1, -2. In my y direction, I count +1. So I go up 1, and I put my dot. I'm going to get rid of these numbers so it's easier to see what I'm doing. So that was back 2, -2, up 1. The last point that I want to graph, 0, 2. So left and right, 0 places, so I'm staying on this line here. And I want to go up 2 because y is +2. So 1, 2. Put my dot in. I have my 3 dots. They should line up in a straight line. And I connect the dots in the line. And it looks like they're pretty straight. If one of the dots were off, so if I had a dot up here somewhere instead of down there, I could see that that's not a straight line, so I would know then I made a mistake somewhere in all of my work, and I'd have to go back and I'd have to check it, and check it, and check it, to make sure I found my mistake. But here, they all line up, they're all good.